Please stand and rise for the pledge of flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge any students that are in the audience. Before we forget, do we have any students in the audience today? Would you stand up if you're there? No?
Like a lot of colleges.
All right. Okay, good.
What school?
What school? Welcome. What school are you from? Emerson Annex?
Right.
Awesome. Where? Leonard Vinci. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. We're always grateful to have young people in our audience. Okay, Mr. Superintendent, would you like to take over?
Is that where we are? Colleagues, I mainly have one exciting piece of news that I've been holding on to, but it's official now, so I can say it. And we are both sad because he's been so phenomenal in his role in such a short time, but we're also glad because he represents the third superintendent that we've put out into the serve the children of New York State from this board and from this administration. So Anibal Solar is a new superintendent of Batavia School District. Batavia School District. I think it's a big deal. Big deal. Very fine young man, excellent administrator. Batavia has a gem. Colleagues, I would invite you, if any of you know Anibal, to say a few words to the young man. He's such a gregarious and kind and generous person. He's been terrific. Everybody loves him. But I would like for you to perhaps do the best honor, which is to hear from his board, and that would be greatly appreciated. Anyone who would like to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
So, I remember when we first met, and I went to Dr. Cash and I said, your talent was being underutilized. Remember that conversation? And so I am so proud of you, and congratulations, and you're going to do an excellent job wherever you go.
Appreciate it.
I'm really grateful for the time we did have you, though.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's right,
Anyone
North
else?
Park, you're right.
Remember? Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for all you've done to contribute and assist us in this district. Certainly we wish you well in the future. Batavia has snatched one of our good ones, and the board is very curious to know who's going to step in those shoes. We want to make sure that they're as competent as you are, they've got the experience that you brought to the table, and that they are well versed, and that they can do the job. So we're going to be watching because you stepped into David Mauricio's shoes, and then yours. Now we've got to see what else is at the table. At the end of the day, we have some great people in this district that are not often always appreciated, and I hope that the staff digs deep and come up with a successful candidate, because if you don't, you're going to pay for it because we're losing a great guy.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
I'd like to say blessings to you and your family. Congratulations on your success, and I know you're going to serve the District Court of Batavia very well, and we're always here for you too. So,
Appreciate that.
Yes.
I also remember the first time I met you, and I was really impressed with your breadth of knowledge, the richness of your ability to reach out, your willingness to engage and share, and I appreciate all of those qualities. Batavia is very lucky to have you, but I hope you will continue to stay in touch with us.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
The other items, colleagues, you'll hear about as a natural course of tonight's business. We have some really pressing items that are coming to sort of a triangle head. Had a good first semester overall, but the schools are pretty much at at max load right now, and I'm really proud of them. But some really great work going on in the instructional realm out in the schools. Our ASLs are doing terrific work. But we also have some new facilities that are coming online very shortly. The Huron School lease is in your board packet tonight, so that's an important item that we hope you will approve tonight. Great work that's done there by operations and by Joe Giussiano and his team. That's going to be a beautiful facility. We'll have some kind of formal launch or opening about the third week in January. We'll move the children to that new school. The Da Vinci School is about to win or be, I know they've been nominated, and so they'll win a national blue ribbon school, just like our School 64 has already won that prestigious recognition. So now we have a high school that's up for it. That's a national award, and we're just going to keep having these great schools that you can talk about and be proud about. On a news that's a little bit more challenging, we're starting to head into budget season, and the prognostication preliminarily is always going to be challenging. It's looking not so great, so we'll have to manage prudently through it, and we will, but it is going to be a challenge at this point. So we'll talk more about that as we get ahead. You'll maybe receive a memo from me in the next day or two just to give you the overview of what we understand at this point, from federal program funding to state early prognostications and then locally. So you'll be receiving that from me probably tomorrow. Other than that, we're trying to get a little bit to the favorite people that I know in the world. They call me Papa, and that's what I'm trying to get to. And all of us need a little bit of what you call off the crazy world for just a minute and refresh, relax, reflect, and then the second half of the school year, colleagues, is not a second half. It's really downhill, and it goes very fast. And we plan to come back and then make sure we reach our targets or exceed them for this school year. So that's what's new, and even our young student board member will have an announcement in his report that I would normally give under mine, but I will defer to him and hear what he has to say in his report about it. So that's enough for tonight. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. Okay, we are going to move forward to hear from our speakers. We have two speakers. At this time, the board welcomes speakers who have signed up to speak at tonight's meeting. Please be reminded that all speakers' remarks must be limited to 3 minutes or less. We ask that the speakers be mindful that this is a business meeting, open to the public, televised locally. Attendees and viewers include persons from throughout Western New York, including children. This board asks that the speakers conduct themselves professionally and that their comments remain civil and courteous. Bear in mind that they will be heard by people of all ages. This is an opportunity for Buffalo residents to address the Buffalo Board of Education about issues that serve the public interest and district mission. And the board asks that the speakers demonstrate appropriate decorum. Our first speaker this evening is Samuel A. Herbert, concerned citizen, followed by Melanie Regan, stepmother. Please come forward.
Madam President,
Yes.
before the clock start, may I be allowed just to say this to each member that was re-elected to the board? Congratulations. To each new member, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. All these years of speaking, I never ever was the first speaker. I'm nervous. Okay. Let me know when to start. To Superintendent of Buffalo Public Schools, Dr. Cash, I signed up to speak to you at the school board meeting to share my frustration and dismays of professional decency and courtesy by your staff when I come to your office inviting you to come on my radio talk show, The Truth and Nothing But the Truth, So Help Us God, which you've been on twice, several times within the last 18 months. I came down to your office to find out if you received my message or any word from Dr. Cash, yes or no. Dr. Cash, my time is as important as yours, sir. I find it very frustrating when a simple phone call to let me know that Dr. Cash will or will not be able to from your staff. I remember bringing this same issue to you personally before you appeared on my second show, asking you, did you receive my invitation to come on my radio talk show? And you told me that you never received the message. My radio show moved to the last Saturday of each month. WUFO 1080 AM 96.5 FM from 1:30 to 2 p.m. I've been on the air now for the last 3 years. My invitation to you is always open, sir. The last Saturday of January 2020 is open. I'd like for you to give an update of the 2018 school year accomplishments, progress, and the 2019 school year anticipated progress. I came into your office the last week of August 2019 to invite you on my show while everyone was preparing for the new 2019 school year. I was hoping that your staff would schedule you in, Dr. Cash. A simple phone call would have sufficed. The Truth, your host, Samuel A. Herbert. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And to each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas and God bless.
Next, we will have Melanie Reagan.
I'm ready. I am here today as a parent to support my daughter that attends Hutch Tech and other students in their individual endeavors. Currently, there are obstacles and roadblocks for students in the Buffalo schools in regards to availability to regular musical instruction. I feel music is instrumental in the foundation of a good education. I am going to read an excerpt of a college application essay written by my daughter, who has recently been accepted to Geneseo. I've always been shy. Throughout my freshman and sophomore year, I was either with my head enveloped in my sketchbook or having my soul escape my body as I apprehensively raised my head to answer a question in class. However, after the musical, there was a change. Suddenly, my peers knew who I was. There were people in the hallway calling me Connor, as I had played Connor Murphy, and I would laugh and make a reference to either of the songs I sang on stage. I was recruited into my school's chorus, and I felt as if there was a pivot in my life. Becoming involved with performing hasn't changed my socially introverted tendencies completely, but I had a medium through which I felt competent and confident to break free and truly let loose. When I'm on stage, I feel empowered and indestructible. There's such a stark contrast in my family members that they often make comments along the lines, "You're so quiet. I didn't know you had it in you." Or, "How come you're never like that around us?" I always got such a high out of performing. Performing on stage and involving myself with music, costuming, set design, directing, making flyers, and creating promotional artwork. I engulfed myself with as many creative arts as I could. My whole high school career had been building up to my senior year. Senior year, I would finally shine. Upon returning, my heart sunk in my chest. The music department was essentially cut. We had lessons, but no performances, no grade or credit. Our morning practices were cut, and we could only practice once a week if lucky. All my creative outlets have been stifled. In the middle of October, when lessons finally got started, I sang for the first time unrestricted since school had ended in June the previous year. When I left the room, I was breathless, trembling, shaking, and on the verge of tears. This time, however, it wasn't from nervousness, but because singing like that moved me so profoundly. So I want to say, if we just listen to what students have to say, we'll find all the answers that we need. And thank you so much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Cash, do you have? I don't really, colleagues. I think the speakers, you know how I feel about music and the arts. We want them in every school. We want them as robust as possible. It takes work to get there, and we're working on it. Sam spoke what he felt, and I respect that. So we definitely want to have music in every school. We want children's voice to come through. Music, art, theater, dance, all of the arts. Priority for us. So where there are gaps, we'll keep working to fill them. That's a commitment from me and I know from the board. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. I think what I'd like to do is just, before we move forward, is just to go over with the board the agenda and to follow the agenda according to how it has been listed, and to save anything other than what's listed on the agenda for unfinished business towards the end of the meeting. This is how it has typically been done up until a point. It will allow us to have a more efficient board meeting. So if you are a committee chair, or if you are working with a committee chair, for example, if you're working with someone under finance and ops or whatever, you can report out at that time. But you would save your personal reflections and your actions and your things that you have done since the previous board meeting to the very end of the meeting. And I'd like to have a conversation about that with the board to make sure that we're all in agreement with that. This is how it was done up until probably 2:15, where the former board blocked people from having a time at the very end of the meeting to speak. And so that's how it evolved into a conversation in the middle of a board meeting, where people started explaining what they've done and what they're doing. Does anyone have a problem with that? If you do, I'd like to hear what your concerns might be. Okay, good. So I'm glad we're in agreement with that. Okay, so may I have a motion to accept the previous board minutes?
So moved.
So moved by Lou and second by Vice President Posey. All right, our committee chair. I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, committee reports. Let's move forward. We, on December the 4th, we had finance and operations, and we had executive affairs. So we will start with Jennifer, go around the table if anyone has anything to report in regards to any of the committees that are presently active and functioning. In the subcommittee.
So we did meet Executive Affairs Committee on December 4th, and we mainly dug into the trainings that the board is looking to take on, recognizing that we're trying to bring trainings to the community, to our staff, to our students. We realize that we have to embark on these for ourselves in order to do the governance that's necessary for this billion-dollar district. So as of right now, I don't have the dates in front of me. I believe
January 23rd. It's a Thursday at 4:30 p.m.
Or,
The location is going to be sent out, but I believe it's going to be at East High School.
oh, okay, and that's the disproportionality, and we're still looking into sensitivity training, correct? So we had we were looking into restorative practices training, and decided as a board after some pretty robust discussion that a sensitivity training is definitely in need for us to take on before we look into any other ways of, communicating, getting together. Other than that, I think that was pretty much all of what Executive Affairs had taken on. So. Oh, yes, apologies. Our parent Congress had another organization that was looking to become part of the parent Congress under Executive Affairs. They're to present to the board, and then we vote on that presentation at our board meeting. The organization hosted or headed up by Charles Bergen. We had given him some advice to come back, reevaluate his presentation, come back, represent, and then we will take that action as to go together whether voting him into our current parent Congress with 5 organizations currently in that Congress. So that's the action we took.
Thank you, Mrs. McPherson. Moving forward, Mrs. Day, do you have anything to report?
I don't chair a committee. Ms. Tucker.
So I'm going to report that we were unable to meet due to weather, but that we will pick up the overview of special education as well as dealing with any questions that board members may have regarding that presentation. I'm collecting them and will send them along to Dr. Brown Hall preferably by the end of this week or right after we get back from the holiday.
I'm up next with the education. We're looking at last Wednesday on December 11th. We had a storm in the city of Buffalo. We cannot present because one of the presenters actually with the Breaking Barriers program is a male youth leadership program, and they're going to present with children from the Buffalo Public Schools, and we didn't want to put any kids or any adults in danger of being stuck in the weather, inclement weather. And also we have the Wilson Foundation Sports Field Project update, and that's going to be presented in January. It's going to be moved to January because of the delay, and it's going to be under Jennifer's committee. And which date would that be?
Yes, January 8th. All 4 committees will be held on January 8th.
So we reconvene with the Wilson Foundation Sports Field Committee on January 8th, and as far as the Breaking Barriers, we're going to have to set a different date because of time restraints.
Okay. I guess this will help us to get our subcommittees up and running a little bit better too. Yes, who's next?
Finance and Ops.
Okay, Finance and Ops.
I'm sorry,
Okay, go ahead.
real quick, just the Common Council Educational Subcommittee will be going through their reorganization on January 2nd. We will have a new chairman. And on the Erie County Association of School Boards, they are off this week, but I did want to note that David Lowry, the Executive Director of the Erie County Association of School Boards, attended our last meeting, and we've had 3 members who have been very active in trying to go to attend. We're trying to form a stronger relationship between our board and theirs.
Good. We'll make sure that happens.
I will try my best.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Finance and Ops did meet on December 4th with a presentation from our CFO, Jeff, on the handling of our fund balance. And it was a significant discussion on complying with New York State education law, custody, separation of our funds, and opportunities to increase interest earnings. The resolution of all the discussion was basically that we would allow the superintendent to draft, his staff to draft memorandum of understanding and suggest some procedures so that we would be in compliance with New York State education laws. Well, that's a work in progress, but hopefully it will earn us some extra income, interest earnings, and also protect our fund balance. It does have to be worked out with City of Buffalo.
So, Ms. Woods, would you be keeping that on your agenda each meeting until that's resolved?
Yes. some kind of agreement, safeguards.
Okay, we have our student leader here, and we're happy to have Danny here today, and he has a report for us. So make him feel warm and fuzzy.
I'm Daniel Tran from City Honor School at Boston Maston Park. Just yesterday, we had the second meeting of the Inter-High Student Council program, in which we discussed the anti-bullying task force that the superintendent and the district has organized, and also healthy relationships discussed amongst teams, and a civic engagement activity spearheaded by public offices present in Buffalo. And lastly, we also had the Office of Public Advocacy present towards the youth at my student body. And on top of that, we also briefed with my officers that we want to somehow transform the Inter-High Student Council into something else and bigger, because we realized that as a student leader, especially for me, I did not come from the same privileged background as most people may assume with City Honor students. I realize that there is a trend within education that most people often overlook the things that the City Honor students are given, and I will admit we are given a lot of opportunity. That is true. However, my opportunity was given towards me because of my academic success and achievement, not because of my background with family or the money that our family possesses. I am proud to announce that I achieve a 4.0 across all of my academic years. And I'm also part of the full International Baccalaureate program there at City Honors. But this was not because I was given or pushed by my parents, or necessarily because I was surrounded by it, but more importantly, because I want to push myself. And the motive behind Inter-High Student Council is that I also want to push students, because students are the ones that realize the struggles that we face. Students are the ones that face the harsh reality of what education in life is. And we students understand more because of how times are changing, especially with the rapid advancement of technology. Yes, adults, I cannot speak on behalf of the board or anyone because I'm a newcomer to this whole entire environment. However, I do understand as a student leader the most accurate and most precise way to ensure that our future is in the hands of a right coordinator. And it's really important among my officers, and especially me, that we realize that this is our future, the students, and I do respect every single board member here. Obviously, I was given this role, but granted, we were all in school, not necessarily in the same time period that we were. And that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
It was back when dinosaurs roamed the earth.
But times are changing a lot, and with that, we are progressing into a very different type of era where graduation rates are often overlooked or plummeting. And in Buffalo in general, it's very good at a staggering 62%, which is very good. But I learned from the stories of other students a part of Inter-High Student Council, who for the most part are other student leaders, and my officers as well, that they are not upholded to the same standard that I uphold myself to. And I also realized that if I did not go to City Honors, I would not be given the same opportunity or the same future that I would expect myself for. And with that, I'd also like to note and be thankful of the opportunity I was given at Inter-High Student Council in being elected the president. And I work alongside very many other bright students and people who envision a future full of collaborative efforts between adults and students. But the realization is that we are students in the present day, and then I understand that you are students in our seats as well. But
You're doing well. Go ahead. Take your time.
I
Breathe.
realize
Breathe.
that you are all students as well, but the education system is changing drastically, so we must change with it. So that's why I believe some of the dialogue must be between students as well. And I also understand that we cannot be held responsible or to the same accountability as adults are given, because I'm still a 17-year-old. I'm not informed in the same backgrounds or education as you guys are, or the same professions or career paths. However, if there's anything that I can prove, it's that I can be tested to the same exact limit that you guys are, and that is a very bold statement, but I believe it is also a true statement. And learning amongst my peers from other schools, I have learned many stories. However, I also have a story, and people often overlook that part of me, especially when I was elected president. In my presidential role, a part of Inter-High Student Council, most often shredded off the opportunity I was given because it's a city honors thing, as in city honors is always given the best things. But in reality, I went to the same exact underperforming schools, such as these kids that I also talked to. I'm a previous student of Lovejoy Discovery School 43, which is not to say the worst of all schools, or like not to say that there are worse schools. Every school performs greatly, and I have a great outlook on every school, despite me not being informed or experienced in every single one of these situations or atmospheres. I did not come from the same background or history that most of my peers experience at City Honors. It's also a statistical fact that 25 through 30% of students at City Honors are economically disadvantaged or experience a life among the poverty line, and I also experienced that life. I do not live in the same populated Elmwood area or suburban area as part of Buffalo or North Buffalo. I in fact do live on the east side. I do not live in the same like picketed fence areas that people often believe that I do, because for example, I come here with a MacBook Pro, but that wasn't because my parents bought it for me. It was because I want it. I want it in a competition. I want it because of my grades. I want it because of my hard work that I put forth.
Right.
Last thing to note, I understand that expectations for children may be very lackluster, but I can uphold these expectations, and I also want to install a legacy amongst my peers and a legacy amongst the Board of Education and specifically Buffalo Public School District to ensure that opportunity is spread across not only for City Honors but every single other school. And I understand I'm not informed of per se like marketing or economics. However, I did take an economics class, so I am somewhat informed, but somewhat, not really though. But and I understand it takes a lot of work, and I understand that all this work cannot be immediately achieved, and change takes time. However, I really hope that I do inspire a different ideology amongst everyone in this room, that real change can occur with the help of students, and especially students like me, and the students a part of Inter-High Student Council, because for the most part, from what I hear from these students, they are on the exact same track as I am. They have the same exact ideals as I do. However, the reality is that they're not put in the same opportunistic environment that I am. And I just urge everyone to trust the voice of children, or students in particular, because in reality, this is our future, and we are the ones that will be, hopefully, or not necessarily, in your spots in the future, and we will be ones doing the work.
But we waited a while to hear from you, Danny, and we're glad to hear from you. That's for real. Certainly, this board is very interested in working with the students. And we don't have an ideology that we can't accept what students say here. That's what we're here to do. One of the suggestions that I was going to propose, and we can talk later, but we want to get back to our business, but my concern with him, and why I'm carving this out, is that I don't want a situation where our meeting goes on for a long time and he's not able to eat and leave, because he has to get back to his studies. So we have to respect that. So I'm going to ask in the future, if you don't mind, is that we allow him to present first, okay? And then we can present after him. And then if there's something that needs to be addressed under unfinished business, we do the exception for him so that he can go ahead and get his studies under control. But what I think, and I would just share this, what I'd like to do is meet with I have volunteered to be the representative for the board for Inner High Student Union, but I'd like to meet with the board, to meet with the Inner High Student Union representatives, and then probably maybe in February or so, have a at-large meeting with all students and the board. We've done that before, it was very successful. But I'd like to start with you guys first, and then you would take the message out to the school, and then we would have a bigger forum where all students could come and participate. Do you think that's a good start?
Yes.
Okay, the other thing is I've always worked with at least one project with the Inner High Student Union per year. I'd like to continue that, so we'll find out what you're interested in doing and how we can help you do that. Yes, Mr.
Is it possible for us to make an official change on board docs to reflect that there's a spot on our agenda for the student rep to speak?
We can, why don't we set up, well, since
So
it's,
that it is prioritized?
yeah, we can set, because technically, I think, and help me with this, Nate, Inner High Student Union can we formulate that in some way or another as a committee or something, or a branch of the district? And we can put that as one of our standing committees?
Yeah.
Okay, we can work it that way.
I'll look at the policy and see whether a policy would have to be amended, because the agenda is really set by the policy. So I'll review that, maybe we can discuss that briefly at the next Executive Affairs Committee, Ms. Maposi, and then execute that change in an efficient way, so that what Ms. Condon's suggestion can be implemented as soon as possible.
Okay. And I may not see you, but I want to talk with you before maybe Christmas start, and I'll leave you alone after, before.
I know she will.
Listen to Dr. Cash. We'll be fine. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, so the committee reports our consent agenda. May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So move.
Second, moved by Lou, second by Paulette. Any exceptions, or we're moving forward? Okay, thank you. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Mr. Petrucci, you have a 9B.
That just an exception. No question, no comment. I'm just going to.
Oh, okay. Did he read? You don't want to share? Okay, all right. Mr. Hurd, you have 11A, B, and C.
Quickly, emailed my questions to Dr. Brown Hall about my concerns. I haven't had a chance since we sat down to open up the email to read.
I responded to you and all board members on 11A, B, and C.
Well, starting off with 9A, my question was, 9A, I'm sorry, 11A. Okay, as I look through 11A and look through the second page, in 2019, 2020, we have a spot there for our suspension data import. And I just want to know why wasn't it included in 2018, 2019? Is this something that what we spoke about with the board about having suspension data reviewed by the...
And I'll just go over what I responded to the board. So what you have in front of you is a renewal of IEP Direct, but also an enhancement, right? So IEP Direct and Infinite Campus will be able to access IEP Direct from Infinite Campus. So in 2018-19, the suspension data import wasn't necessary, but now it is in 1920 because of the link with Infinite Campus. So that's why it wasn't there last year, but that's why it's here this year, and that's why there's a cost attached to it.
Okay, and who will be able to access that? Everybody for the community, or?
No, only for IEP Direct. There was a question that Dr. Rivera had, so I responded to the entire board also. And IEP Direct, who can see IEP Direct are the teachers of the student that has an IEP.
The principal has read-only access as well.
Okay, just want to be clear with that. Okay. Moving to 11B. I was concerned about the Blue Sky Design Supply and this agreement that's happened to be signed for the board. But it looks like it's a substantial amount of, she said to Google. For one, I actually Googled it and I tried to do some research on it, and it actually said that the facility was closed. And
It is not. We've actually partnered with Tyra Johnson, who is the CEO and founder of Blue Sky Designs for many years. It's a requirement of the CTE grant. Your question dealt with the amount of $25,000 for the 10 sessions. But if you look in the details, the $25,000 is for the next 3 years. It's $8,000 for 1920, $8,000 for 2021, and $9,000 for 21-22, which totals $25,000. So it's really $8,000 for this year for the 10 sessions. It's not $25,000 for this year.
I read 9 sessions, and I had concerns because the 9 sessions looked like it was about $2,000 a session.
If it was
have a speaker come in.
$25,000, correct.
Right. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
Absolutely.
And the last was 11C. We're looking at. I was reviewing the West Side Montessori School, the teaching education program, and it looks like it says the training for 12 teachers will cost $40,000, $40,100. And I was looking; that was kind of extensive for 12 teachers to be trained, for the Montessori strategies. So they could be explain more about the cost effectiveness of that.
Yeah, it's actually. I can let Darlene explain, but it is the tuition that we're paying so that 12 teachers can be trained, and that's the tuition. It comes out to about $3,300 per teacher for the training from January 2020 to June 2020, and it is an ongoing process we're having to make sure all of our teachers are trained and kept up to date with the skills and the necessary pedagogy for the Montessori program that we have at School 32.
Yeah, it's very atypical, Terrence. It's over a year long?
Yes.
And you haven't had staff trained or updated in their training in a long, long time. So we need to sort of start again, get the new staff and even some of the veterans retrained in that important philosophical approach, pedagogical approach. Otherwise, it's not a special school. It just is another school. So, Darlene, and we're staggering them in. We're not doing it all at once. We're staggering it in. Can you say a little bit more about it?
Yes, we'll be training the age levels of 6 to 9 year olds, the teachers. They're working with predominantly 6 to 9 year old students because we found that the teachers for the 3 to 6 year olds are mostly all trained, and we sort of had a lapse in the 6 to 9 year old teachers that were trained. So we want to make sure that we have a strong Montessori school that exemplifies the Montessori philosophy. So we want to make sure those teachers are trained in Montessori. And using West Side, they're willing to do it here, so our teachers don't have to travel anywhere else.
Okay.
Then 9 to 14 is important.
Yes, also.
See, they'll come
And
last.
yes.
Yeah, I understand it goes to the Benton Park Montessori Center. I was just wanting to know, just by reading over it, it didn't give me the full specs on how long the training is going to be. That I didn't see. It says additional 3 years if necessary.
Yes.
And that says if necessary. If necessary, could it be if they need more training after the first year? But it doesn't necessarily say how long that the 12 teachers and with the price of $40,000.
They'll start the program in January, and this will be from January to June, and then continuing going forward. So the program will probably be about 2 years, and then we're continuing with more teachers going on after that.
More teachers, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no more questions. May I get a roll call vote, please?
On the consent agenda, how do you vote, Dr. Jackie Evans Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd, no exceptions. Mr. Hurd?
No exceptions.
Ms. J?
No exceptions.
Ms. McCosey?
No exceptions.
Mr. Petrucci?
Exception 9B, number 30.
Other than that, no exceptions.
Other than that, no exceptions, correct.
Dr. Rivera?
No exceptions.
Mr. Scott?
No exceptions.
Ms. Woods?
No exceptions.
President Beltran?
No exceptions.
Consent agenda passes. Just a reminder, Madam President, that number 24, the Indigenous Peoples' Day resolution is separate and apart from the consent agenda, so that has to be handled separately.
Okay, would you like to do that now?
I think so.
Okay, Ms. Wood,
I'll turn it over.
Hold on.
First a motion to accept resolution number 24A, Indigenous Peoples' Day.
may I get a motion to accept, resolution, 24A, Indigenous People Day? Did you get that?
Everyone had a chance to look at it.
We did have a question with it. We had some concerns about, children came and spoke last board meeting, some students and college kids about Indigenous People Day, and they had concerns about the day itself and about the contest part of it also. I think that we really need to meet and discuss the contest part as a board to see if that's actually fair or if that's something we might want to explore.
That's what the amendment is.
Oh, that's what
So the reason that, just to update everybody as a sponsor with Ms. Woods being a co-sponsor, the fact, the resolution was put forth in August, and I honestly don't remember the words contest, but apparently that's how it was worded, and it was worded that way in the resolution. It was pointed out to me. I brought it to the district and then to the board to just approve an amendment so that it becomes the research project that, you know, it has turned out to be, that has been expressed that it needs to be from the folks that are actually working on it and the stakeholders. And that's, if you look at 24A, that is the amended resolution that is now changed from contest to research project. So we're just hoping the board accepts and approves the amendment to the resolution. And Paulette, is that all right with you? I know we had some email exchanges, but wasn't sure if you were okay with that. We need like a roll call vote or something?
Can I just say one thing? What I'd like also is to get the Inter-High Student Council's opinion on this process, you know, once we get it going, so that they can have an input in it as well. Okay.
I have a question. Was it presented to you?
No. So at the Enterprise Student Council, most of the agenda or targeted tasks that we do are pre-planned without my former knowledge or involvement, because most of it has to do with district problems and census survey results and what they believe is best fit. So that's why my initiative is to somehow have my voice allowed, because I would like to present this to the Inter-High Student Council. I would like them to be aware of it because we are students as well.
So,
And you want to have a say on the agenda too.
Ms. Botticelli, if you can work with
Oh, we'd love to.
our student rep in order to make that happen. There has been some significant work from both angles of you know, the subject, and I would love for you. I was under the impression that you were roped in, so it's still early. It's not as if everything is set in stone. There's still many hoops to kind of go through, so I appreciate that you'll be working on that as well.
Very good.
What's the next?
Okay. No, oh, yes.
Yeah, one of the questions I had was, did we limit it to just high school students, or is it for middle students as well?
So we've been meeting with different groups of people to get feedback, and we obviously need to formulate everything officially for you, but the most recent feedback has been a suggestion that it's actually seniors that do the research itself, and that we continue to update the curriculum at all grade levels so that everyone has the benefit of an informed curriculum related to Indigenous peoples as well as other groups. But we are still pulling together the feedback from everyone. But the last 2 or 3 groups that we met with have suggested that.
Can you say more about why that is?
I think they felt like it was a very large task, and they wanted to make sure that we focused and really worked with the upperclassmen so that they could do due diligence to the project.
but they didn't want to leave out other students. That's why we're also focusing on updating our curriculum to make sure that we're inclusive. So along with the work we've been doing with the 1619 project, we want to make sure that we incorporate the Indigenous voice as well into all of our grade levels.
I'd like to also point out that I've been in many conversations with different parent groups, different groups as well. I did hear this. I believe that there's still many conversations that need to happen in order to make this solid for the project to actually go forth. There was a confusion around the 1619 project and how that's related. Some folks thought they were one and the same. So there's some hurdles that I feel like are unexpected, but I'm glad that we're taking the time to do the project, and that the students you have subcommittees and more subcommittees of students who are taking a real interest in this. Not just an interest there, it's almost that they're taking a responsibility, similar to how you're presenting your take on how you're going to move forward with the work. So
Are they all seniors?
no, and that's the thing. They're not the students that I spoke to. I haven't been able to speak to the students from Hutch Tech yet, and I'd like to work with the ones that are working on the Italian heritage piece. But the Da Vinci students are not all seniors. And then again, as Ms. Botticelli said, that's kind of a suggestion of where we go with it. It's not that this is how it's going to happen. So I think that has to be flushed out some more.
Yes, Mr. I'm sorry, I think Larry was next, and then Mr. Terrence was? Okay.
How's the class time constructed so that the seniors can participate in this? Because I know a lot of seniors that I talk to, their schedules are full, and some have half a days are empty. So how can they, how are the class time constructed so that they can partake in this event and get the information about it?
There's certain classes that all seniors take, for example, participation in government. So we would be working with teachers to embed the research into the actual class time.
I will say I've been meeting. They come to Saturday morning meetings. There's a lot of outside of school time meeting that's actually happening that these students have committed themselves to. So
Some.
I think,
That some attend. Not all seniors.
well, that's the thing. It's so early on that I think that right now the folks that are kind of tasked with putting this together and recruiting are looking to see how they're going to recruit the other students. So it's not just this one particular group of students. They're actually coming together to see how to be more inclusive, how to bring everybody together. So, I mean, I really appreciate the fact that they didn't just, they actually push back on, we're not going to create a curriculum because we don't have the capacity to do this. We need to work with the district. We need to bring more people in. So that's the conversations they're having. They're very demanding of us, of how they want to go about this. And changing, I think amending this resolution is not only just in respect of what they're bringing to the table, but it shows that they're being heard, because they were adamant that this is not a contest. They don't want to feel that they're in competition. They want to be inclusive with everyone in order for all grades to be able to understand what this is.
Do we have a timeline?
That's actually what we're trying to formalize now.
Right.
We finished meeting with the groups this month, so we're going to put together. We can share out with you at another meeting or whatever is best for the group. But
yes.
The only reason why I ask because this is very important to a lot of people, and culturally, we have to be sensitive towards both groups and all groups concerning this. That's when we make sure that we give the right amount of time and attention to it before we make a decision and students be involved.
One of the things that we heard very clearly from parent groups as well as student groups was they would like community voice around this entire project. So some of our next steps would be to have community forums where we actually have opportunities for people to not only speak their own truth and discuss this issue, but to also give us feedback on how they would like to see this project move forward as the next step. And I think our parent groups brought up that that is also a form of research when you have those community gatherings, and it's qualitative research. So there was a lot of conversation around that, and that would include students from all grade, 9 to 12, all grade levels. So not just seniors, because it would be open to the community. We're looking at doing those in the new year.
Oh, yes.
So just for clarification, the work that's been done with the students and that will be presented to us is not only to inform a name change, but also to inform curriculum change.
Correct.
Which I'm happy to hear, because I remember reporting out shortly after Columbus Day. You know, my son's never experienced this, but in one school I was hearing that some of the content that was being taught, the materials that were being used, should not be used and taught. And I'm wondering if we could also just add in a word or two that reflects that this will also inform curriculum changes. Not just a name change in the holiday.
Will you accept that?
If you can deliver on it, then I accept
We're
it.
actually already starting to do some internal research at CAI to figure out the best way to approach a lot of this. And just, I don't know if the board's aware, but we have a textbook adoption coming up at the elementary level for social studies books. So it's another opportunity for us to get a product that's more in tune with the sensitivity around all these issues.
Yes, Anne?
Do you think do you think of you could gather, it would be, okay, let me back up and actually be coherent. Do you think that, it's late people, do you think that the timeline that you have in front of you in conducting focus groups and conducting research could help to inform the textbook selection? Is that too tight a window?
The textbook selection, we actually have a pretty strong rubric that we plan to use that would encompass a lot of this. It wouldn't necessarily specifically focus on only Indigenous people, but it would be a broader look at CLRI to make sure that whatever materials we're adopting.
I would just like to see that kind of close the loop so that when parent groups are involved, students are doing research, we have students involved in focus groups, that what interests them about what they want to learn with history and what they don't know or what they do know and what they'd like to see more of, that could be incorporated in the larger rubric. I understand that the rubric wouldn't focus just on one issue. Social studies is a large and varied field.
Possibly. The rubric has to go up very, very soon, in order to have the process get started and finished in time for the new year. But we will definitely be meeting to make sure that the rubric addresses the concerns that we've already heard. And more importantly, I think the work that the kids are doing will inform curriculum itself as opposed to just the purchase of a particular book. So because that probably would be 4 to 6 next year, grades 4 to 6. But we would be looking across the spectrum at what the most appropriate curricula would be.
So there could be additional materials that would be incorporated.
Trade books, websites, Amistad we started to incorporate.
We already have a multitude of curriculum items that we look at around Indigenous people, for example, the Warrior Project, and as Ann mentioned, the Amistad, we're now going to insert the 1619 Project and others. So this work is ongoing and it's been happening for quite some time.
Well, I understand that. This is just the next step.
Yeah,
Moving forward
absolutely.
with the next piece.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to check. Are they still looking to look to have both holidays celebrated on the same day, or are they looking to move to different days with this part of this project?
I'm sure there's varied opinions on that, but
Yeah, I think that would be a board decision at the end. Once all the students bring forth their research, then that would be up to you all to decide those name changes and things of that.
I was asking, was that part of the project that they're looking at also, the two separate days or keeping them the same day? Most of the people from the community that called me or spoke to me basically was saying that on the same day is kind of
we're hoping that the kids will organically come up with recommendations for you based on their research. We don't want to
On the point, Sharon?
we don't want to influence their particular
Hold on.
thoughts on this. We want them to do the research and really come to their own conclusions. But the board will have the final say.
Okay, Mr. Petrucci?
Sharon, so on the point, from it's my understanding that both communities would like to have their own separate and distinct date. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes. I remember when you spoke previously, you spoke about the Polish community also.
Correct.
About the history between those, and I don't want to bring too much up, but
We don't have to get into a history lesson tonight.
okay.
We'll talk later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just have one, I'm sorry. go ahead.
Just good for my amendment, but go ahead if you.
Okay, just one more question. So in our high schools, we do have student governments, right?
Yes.
I'm being told. Have we incorporated them into this, or are we going to incorporate them into this decision? In other words, it would be nice to see a district-wide, you like that idea? See, me and her work real well together. You like that idea?
Yes, I do.
What do you think?
I think it would be very important because most of the student governments and part of these school communities that I talk to, they are mostly ones that are very understanding of the atmosphere that they're surrounded, and especially of the backgrounds that their kids experience in these other places. I myself have not stepped foot into a majority of the other schools, a part of the public school district. However, my peers, a part of the student government bodies, they basically represent the student body of their whole entire school, so I think that'd be very appropriate.
We will be reaching out to you because I think it'd be terrific to incorporate more voices into it.
Absolutely.
We have quite a few student groups, including the Scholars for Social Justice and the Our Story Project, that we will add along with High Student Council into this now. That's where it's kind of moving.
And
in that
each
direction.
government, and each school.
Yes,
Yeah,
your
governmental
representation
bodies in the school.
student
We have
government
like
in every school, and then
presidents,
those other
vice presidents,
CLRI groups
secretaries.
that have voice around student advocacy and social justice issues. We'll be bringing them to the table as well. That's just the next phase of where this work is moving.
And that's why.
Okay.
I was gonna say, that's why it's important to not limit it to just seniors, because you got a very, cohort of heads. They could be ninth graders who act like seniors, who are, want to be interested. You can't just, I'm not saying you, but we can't just limit it to just seniors.
Very good. Okay, Larry, can you
All
talk
right,
now?
so the second last resolve, I'd like to amend where it says appropriate naming of the second Monday in October, to add and to inform curriculum changes on Indigenous peoples' history. Does that seem to? And to inform curriculum changes on Indigenous peoples' history.
I think it should be inclusive of, the research project is encompassing all the history.
Say related.
Italian heritage, the whole nine, so I think, I don't know, I know it's an Indigenous Peoples Resolution, but I feel like what's happening is that it's starting
And
to
to inform
really,
related curriculum changes.
yeah, I think that's better.
I like that.
Perfect.
Any objection?
Is everybody all right with that?
Perfetto.
All right.
Would you like a roll call vote?
Do we need a roll call vote on this?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Resolution.
Resolution passes. Okay. All right, so we're moving forward pretty nicely today.
Amen.
Watch it, Darren. Okay, Jennifer, do you have something you'd like to share, please?
Yes, and I'd like to put forth a motion in accordance with Board Policy 6110 and its underlying regulation. I'd like to make a motion to have the following individuals appointed to the Commission on Ethics. Board member Sharon Belton Cotman, President Cotman is nominating Ms. Beverly Newkirk. Her term would end in December of 2022. Board member, at-large member Mr. Lawrence Scott would like to nominate Mr. Jerry Chircott. His term will also end December 2022. And board member, at-large member Mr. Terrence Hurd would like to nominate Ms. Zanita Everhart. Did I say that right? Also term ending December 2022. So the motion's on the table.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay. Do we need to do
Any discussion?
any discussion? Do we need to, we can just take a general.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
So everybody
Any
has
opposed?
a committee member now. We're all set as far as, okay. Okay, aye.
Okay, let's do that again. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so it's, the appointments and reappointments, move forward. Okay, so we're winding down, for this session. We need to do a couple more things. Lou, we need to acknowledge our, deceased, members of our family. Then we will go into executive session. And so, Lou? Right, that's after we come out of executive session. Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
young man thought he was
No.
going to say something.
Oh, okay, all right, so we're going to do an exception. Okay, we're gonna let our student representative do his unfinished business before we go into our executive session and do our deceased members. Therefore, he'd be able to leave and get his studies. We don't wanna mess with that 4-0 at all.
Hello everyone again. So today I was quickly briefed by my principal and assistant principal, or practically my whole entire administrative team, and also the coordinators part of the Fosdick Field project, and then so practically I was not here for the last board meeting, but I am aware that the purchase of Fosdick Field for it to be installed as a park used amongst the community was discussed. And it's also very important to note that despite city honors being granted another thing, it's not necessarily only to benefit us, it's just necessarily it's a call for security, because as of now, we only have one place where we can practice outside, and that is Johnny B. Wiley, which is also practically a block away, which makes it very unsafe, because it's important to note that our student body is not from 9 to 12 grade, but also 5 to 12, which is very concerning towards the younger children, a part of our student demographic, because parents are also very concerned during the long walk, or especially with the unpredictability that a kid could possibly get into danger. And it's also really, really important to spread light upon the recent passing of a student, part of our student body. His name was Lamont Nancy, and that was done at the place called Maston Park. It was because he was playing basketball. And it's the voting and the purchase of Fosdick Field is not to benefit our school alone, it's to benefit the community and the community that shape our school and that we're surrounded by. And there are a lot of concerns raised about whether or not the liability of the whole entire situation. And in order to assure all of you in this room that it wouldn't go towards only city honors use, you can use our school pool as an example. It's a very exceptional pool. I was just there an hour ago participating in a swim meet because I'm a varsity swim captain.
Is there anything you don't do?
Can I get a job?
But it's really, I stress that 50% of the time we do not use that pool. After school, we do use the pool for our own swim team practice, but after 4:30, another school comes in and they will use that pool. And on top of it, other extracurricular operations are also committed towards our pool. And during the winter, or during the fall season and summer season especially, our pool is not used by our school alone. It's used by the BTS swim team, which is a combination of many other schools throughout the district, city honors included, but also Olmsted, South Park, Brevard, Lafayette, anyone who believes that they want to test their limits can swim. And on top of that, whenever we have an away meet as well, our pool is used as a designated location for other schools to use due to the facility and the opportunity it provides because of the structure of it and the overall performance and funding that went in towards that. And the Fosdick Field project itself, if you look on the City Honors website, there's a lot of information about it. I'm informed a lot, but not as much as obviously my coordinator as a part of my school body will inform you, or more or less the website. You can learn a lot on that website. I've learned a lot from that, but I myself am not. I'm too involved in my academic study to also carry that weight of trying to spearhead the foundation as well. But the purpose of the Fosdick Field itself is not to only make it a city honors thing, an exclusive thing. It's more or less to support the idealistic views that our neighbors, a part of the Fosdick area, want to perceive, because with the growing medical just growing like residency a part of Buffalo. The current plans that we're debating or challenging is whether or not that field will be used for residential use or in academic and community use. And we want to stress that it's important to give back to the community, and that's what I want to do. That's what City Honors wants to do, and that's what we urge the Buffalo Board of Education to do as well. Whereas if we build houses there or allow houses to be built there, not only will that create disruptance between our academic environment, but that will create disruptance between the residents who already live there, who want to have a place for their children to confide in, or a place for children to have a way to spend their free time. And after school hours, yes, City Honors, we may sometimes use it, but the reality is we're not always going to use it. The purpose of it is to be used as a physical education place, because as of now, our physical education place outside, as I said previously, is Mass Park, which is still across the street. So granted, that is somewhat close and somewhat accessible. It's also very dangerous because in order to get there, you have to walk across a very busy street. And it's very sad to mention, but very previously in my 8th grade year, a murder occurred there. And although it's not as important to mention because it's such a long time ago, it's still very important to me because although it's still such a great opportunity and we're given so much opportunity at City Honors, the reality is that physical education would be so much better practiced and performed if we had this being given to us. And Johnny B. Wiley as well, like using examples of other schools, Riverside itself, they have a field right on their campus that they get to use. Whereas City Honors, if we want to practice track, if we want to practice football, mind you, we don't even have a football team. Because of our lack of the field, we have to share a football team with Hutch Tech. And that's not, I'm not complaining about that, I'm still thankful for that. But it's the practicality of it all. Because Johnny B. Wiley, it's also a very competitive place. It's first come, first serve. Whoever gets to sign up first, they get to use the field. And we share it amongst every other school as well who wants to use. But the main thing I want to stress is that this is not an exclusive thing. This is not something that only goes towards City Honors. This is something that we want to install for the betterment of Buffalo and the betterment of the youth and the betterment of the residents that we live amongst, who support the future of the children, a part of the student body at City Honors.
Well, you sold us.
Okay.
We already passed it. You sold us though. You sold us.
I want to point out something as someone who develops leaders in the community on a regular basis. We always ask people to recognize the privilege that they have, that they don't have. And I feel that you've not only done that, knowing that City Honors may have, may not have, but I also feel that it seems as though you have to come forward with that before you present that you are the man, because you're the man. And I need for you to understand that recognizing what your school has and knowing the dynamics and knowing the conversations and how adults can take that and turn it into crazy, I appreciate you. I think that you're above and beyond, you know, I'm just totally amazed by you. And I really would, you know, like to see you stress who you are and what you bring to the table more than defending the narrative that's already out there. The product, you are the product. Make it, or I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire as well. Make Inner High Council exactly what you are. Let's do the collaboration you're saying you want to do. I'm gonna be looking for that. But I just wanted to personally tell you, it's not about being impressed. You earned your stripes. So speak more about you. And if anybody can't see what we're doing, because we're going into this as well and we're making announcements about this as well, I appreciate you owning all of that. Thank you.
Yes,
Real quick, Tim, you spoke well at Alaclaim Point. I just, City Honors Class of '83, I have a divergent opinion. One of the criticisms of City Honors is that it is very insular, and that particularly when it comes to student enrollment around the surrounding neighborhoods is very poor. There just isn't a lot of kids from the Fruit Belt or Maston Park that go there. They do. Second, either way, it's Maston Park's literally across the street, and if the board was to buy this field, you still have to cross Fosdick Street to get there. Crime doesn't stop at Best Street. Crime is still going to go across the street. So if Maston Park is dangerous, which I don't particularly, feel it's any more dangerous than any of our other parks, the park across the street will be equally as dangerous. Third and last, that oftentimes the people that attend city honors are criticized as if they're an invading army. They come in, they go, their kids stand there, they double park, triple park on Best, on North, along Foston, and then they leave, and then they're never to be seen again. And those are all things that really need to be addressed if this is truly going to be a park that's going to be fully integrated into the surrounding community, that is going to be open to all. And again, we have an Olmsted Park literally across the street, and you have the Pelling Garden across the street also. So if those two, if the Pelling Garden's safe and it's across the street, and it's adjacent to Maston Park, I feel that both are safe. And you still would have to cross the street to get to this one.
In response to your first point, yes, it's true, Maston Park is equidistant towards our initial idea of Fosdick Park. But it's also important to note, Maston Park is also used by the residential surrounding people.
Isn't this park supposed to be used by the residents also?
Yes, but after school, that's the difference. Because we want to use this towards physical education and what it could offer towards our school. However, at Maston Park, during our physical education time, there are people who still come around the surrounding areas, residential people, who want to simply walk their dogs, want to simply enjoy their day in the park, walk around, enjoy the nice weather, yet there they are with 180 kids in a gym class, running around doing what they would define as their day. And that's what we don't want. And also to, your second point was that again? Oh, no, your actual first point, that was your second point. Your first point saying about how, yes, City Honors, it receives a lot of criticism for not the admissions process, which is very true. However, it's really important to note, I myself, as an example, City Honors is a very extremely rigorous school. It is very challenging. As an alumni at City Honors, I hope you can understand, but the full IB course is no joke. International Baccalaureate is not a joke whatsoever. I will tell you myself, I am being held to the standard the same as college students. And when I speak to these people who are interviewing for the colleges that I want to go towards, mind you, I'm applying to Johns Hopkins University as my top choice.
Excellent.
They are astounded by the things that I have accomplished within my academic journey, because in reality it is very difficult. And talking to people among the Inter-High Student Council, they have no realization about how difficult City Honors truly is, and the necessity of how it's such a challenging and competitive atmosphere is completely different from any other Buffalo public schools, and that is a good and bad thing. I understand that, but we can, with the residents and the children and youth amongst the Maston Park and the Fruit Belt area, I myself have talked to them as well. I am a proud coordinator of the Fruit Belt Cleanup Project, which is a great thing that occurs in the Fruit Belt area, where we practically City Honor students and a majority of university students, they all work together and collaborate in order to create an idealistic community that is clean, carefree, and necessarily used by everyone in the surrounding area. And although City Honors has received a lot of criticism for not admitting people who live exactly right there, it's very true. Yes, these children should be given the same exact opportunity, but the reality is that, do you really want to induce that type of stress on them? Do you really want to challenge them to that type of degree? And it's really important to know, yes, it's like, but also times are changing completely. The amount of stress that I face at City Honors is very different from how an alumni in '83 might face. The presence of technology is, I'm sorry, it's not meant to be offensive, but it's so true. The amount of induced stress and like stress comas that City Honors students feel, it's no joke. Like from hearing from my vice president who goes to Brigard, she's an across the board like academic amazing person. Like I confide in her, she's a great person to collaborate with. However, telling her about my academic journey and the struggles that I face and the struggles that she also faces as well, there's a clear line of difference. And that's a good and bad thing as well. With everything good, there's also bad. That's how balance works in life.
Good. We're gonna work to improve it. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's the student voice. I want to say that, you know, it's nice because we've seen our student voices get more and more progressive. And one of the things I'd like the board to talk about, maybe in our unfinished business section, is providing an opportunity for our former board presidents that come back to the board or during break, something that we can do with them when they're during winter break or whatever, and even if it's just that they're ambassadors and they go around to our schools and speak about their experiences or whatever, I think we should talk about
The student board, the student
yeah,
representative.
the former ones, yeah. Yeah, I think we should think about that. Okay, so I think for simplicity's sake, and I think it'll run a little smoother, if Lou does the, our bereavement announcements, and then we do the motion to go into executive session, okay? All right?
Shall we all rise, please? So I'm going to read bereavements, and afterwards, if we could have a moment of silence to honor those who have passed. Bereavements that are going to be recognized this date, December 18th, 2019. On August 24th, Patricia Armistead, a teacher aide at School 84. On November 12th, Maureen Lindner, a special education teacher at School Number 3. November 18th, Robert Lee Tyson, brother of Doreen Tyson Hill, school clerk at Build Community School Number 92. And Laverne Tyson Blakely, teacher assistant at Olmsted School Number 156. On December 5th, Charles A. Williams, husband of Dr. Tanja Williams, associate superintendent for student support services, and father of Desiree Williams, a school psychologist at Hanlon Park Academy Number 74. And on December 8th, Stephen Patrick Austin, brother of Michelle Brown, a research aide in the Office of Shared Accountability, and brother-in-law of Mayor Byron Brown. May I have a moment of silence? Thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion to go into executive session for the following? To discuss the potential discipline of a specific district employee, to discuss the potential purchase of real property, and 3, for the purpose of receiving legal advice. Second by Lou. Okay, we will take a 5-minute break and then we will reconvene. Thank you.
Hi, how are you? Ann, nice to meet you.
So, thank you for helping.
Yes.
We're putting these in the quiz category.
have it. Is he up? Did you say Darren is he up?
Yeah.
Okay. The board went into executive session and no actions were taken. May I have a motion to authorize the superintendent to prefer section 75 disciplinary charges against employee C.R.
So move.
Lou, and second by Kathy. May I have the motion accepting the generous grant contribution? Oh, I'm sorry.
Would you like a roll call vote?
Would you like a roll call vote? I'm sorry. No. Would you like a roll call vote, or
No.
I think we should, because I think that for this action, you should do a roll call vote.
Dr.
Okay.
Evans Brown, Kathy Evans Brown? On the motion to prefer the section 75 charges against employee with the initials CR. Yes. Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. J?
Getting back to the, no, I wasn't saying yes. I said getting back to the case to refresh my memory.
You can't refresh
Okay,
your memory
okay.
out here.
That was,
You voted yes, sir?
I recuse my vote.
Ms. J?
Yes.
Ms. McCosey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera?
Yes.
Dr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Abstain.
President Belton comment?
Yes, and a point of order, wouldn't it be he would have to give a reason or he would abstain?
Well, I guess I'll go back to the question. Mr. Hurd, are you recusing yourself because you have some sort of conflict, or are you just abstaining because you're not taking a position either way?
Just not taking position either way.
Then would you change your vote to an abstention?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Number 2, may I have a motion accepting a generous grant contribution from the Margaret L. Wendt Foundation in the amount of $500,000 to be utilized toward the acquisition of 172 East North Street, and authorizing the superintendent to execute any documents required to obtain the grant?
So moved.
Second.
Paulette and Lou, thank you.
Roll call vote?
I think we should do a roll call vote on all of these.
Dr. Kathy Evans Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. J?
Yes.
Ms. McCosey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci?
Yes.
Dr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
And President Belton comment?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. May I have a motion authorizing the district to execute closing documents for the purchase of 172 East North Street from the City Honors / Foundation Maston Park Foundation for no more than $1, subject to the terms and conditions of the deeds held by the foundation, and further authorizing the superintendent to continue negotiations with the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority on certain business terms of the deeds once the property is acquired by the board. Paulette and Larry.
Roll call vote. How do you vote, Dr. Kathy Evans Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Hurd?
Yes.
Ms. J?
Yes.
Ms. McCosey?
Yes.
Mr. Petrucci? Yes. Dr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Woods?
Yes.
And President Belton comment?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, we're going to go to the, no, I think you're straight, Jeff.
Okay.
We're gonna go to the unfinished business section. Does any board member have anything they would like to report out as far as their actions over the past, few weeks?
I do have one issue. We requested that Dwayne Sawyer, by Dr. Cash and the board, when they came and spoke on breaking barriers, to be included to the anti-bullying task force. And as of this date, he hasn't received any emails. I've put out several emails requesting that he's be included to the meetings and to the progression of the anti-bullying task force. And as of right now, nothing has been done, even though my efforts from emails and try to be reached to try to bridge the two groups and organizations and help certified efforts, and I haven't received anything. He hasn't been included as of yet.
I can answer that. We haven't convened it yet. We just had a meeting today to talk about the details of that, and myself and Dr. Brown and Dr. Cash are working on that. There is not, we haven't had our first meeting yet, and we don't have a full committee or structure for it. So when we do, then we'll be able to answer that.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to share? Yes.
Real quick, Sharon. The PAL is going to be offering lessons for people to become lifeguards. Lifeguards are a great job. So please check out the PAL website. They're also conducting Learn to Ski classes. They're looking for not only people to participate, but also they're looking for volunteer instructors or coaches to help kids learn to ski. I know that East High School did this a few years ago. It was very successful. They collected a bunch of donations. I will say it was kind of strange to see someone wearing some of my old stuff skiing. But it was good. It was a good program. I think more things we can do to involve kids in more sports. Lastly, I know it's been something the board's been sensitive to, that 14 of the 20 speed zones outside of our schools have been completed. Those are with the cameras, the signage, and the marking on the streets. The balance of the 6 will be done sometime in the spring. The weather contemplated. So we will continue to work on that.
School 81 and School 50 have some crosswalks painted already.
Southside did, which was a big one that I was concerned with. 67 does, yes.
Okay.
Stop arm camera also.
I'm also concerned about the downtown, the new ECC middle. That's used as an expressway.
Yeah.
We might need a stoplight there, or might need a stoplight at that location.
I just want to mention that 3 board members did attend a very large, significant meeting yesterday, I believe it was, on reducing the suspensions and having solutions rather than suspensions. And it was very impressive, and they reported it, and I think there's going to be some significant support for helping us to reduce suspensions.
Larry and I attended the gift giving for the kids at 53, I believe.
59.
59. Thank you.
Annex.
Yes, the annex.
Oh, okay.
And I was there today to give out the gifts with legislator Howard Johnson and Councilmember-elect Mitch Nowakowski and officials from the governor's office.
Okay.
Good time. Kids were great.
So I wanted to ask the board if you would be interested in honoring Judge McLeod for the work that he's done for our district at a future meeting. He retired recently, and he was very instrumental in helping our children and creating that youth court and the things that he's done there. Are you guys in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay. So then I'm going to instruct the superintendent to put together a appreciation service for him. I wanted to share that Citizen Action Education Committee has started back up and meeting, and I would like to see if there are any board members who would be interested in attending those sessions. I think it's important that we are at the table while we're planning things. I attended their last meeting on the 3rd, and it was about getting the monies that the New York State owes our district.
No, the AQE wasn't that this, because I know when I used to attend those meetings, it was all about the AQE and the lawsuit and the underfunding.
Right, so I'm going to ask them to put all board members on there just in case board members choose to attend. One thing that I'm working on and I think you need to know about is last year I proposed to the mayor and superintendent and David Russ an idea about doing a summer math program. And I met with Say Yes last week, and they are moving forward with their ideas, similar to how we don't have it framed yet, but similar to how the mayor does the reading program. This would be a math incentive program attached to trying to help our children. The other thing that came up is that there are a lot of children in our district who are very bright and gifted, and and in the summer, I would like to discuss maybe at, I don't know which committee we would do it at, Student Achievement or whatever, about doing a camp for those children. These would be the children who are like in the top percentile of their school, pulling together those children and doing something where they get a summer enrichment program. as part of their summer program to elevate those children. And so, Ann, that would be something that would be under in your committee.
Yeah.
And I really would appreciate if you would check into that. Do you guys remember the books that the superintendent gave us last year? There were some books. If new board members, you don't have copies, we'll make sure. Your daughter Ann has been reading some of them by I think his name is Zyker. He's the producer of CSI. He has 2 more additional books, and we have started working with him on a project with Toronto students. Ashley Stewart from Channel 7 graduated from Toronto school system, and Mr. Zyker had additional funds for just earmarked for Toronto. We were able to hook them up, and we are talking about in the near future doing something between internationally with our students and their students about those books. But for those that don't have it, I'll work on getting you a copy, a whole set of the books. And the other, you still have yours? Okay, and I'll get you the 2 new ones for the existing board members. And that's about it. Today, Saturday, the immigration concerns. We're at Lafayette, and there's a video, a connection. I'm going to ask staff to give it to you so that you can at least take a look at what the immigrants are saying their concerns are. Okay, and I was a little disappointed that none of the community partners were there for real for this display. I mean, we're complaining that we're not meeting the needs, but when we put something together, they don't appear. So we got to work on making sure that we have them in the house so that they can say that we're meeting the needs of their people.
There's one thing I wanted to mention. I put together with Tino and my associate superintendents a listening tour of all my schools. They're going to be throughout the month of January. I'm hoping to get the feedback back to everyone by next board meeting. I'm requesting that a top student from their graduating class and a student of that student's choice join us in that. I'm asking them what they feel, their attendance issues are and how they feel that they can bring a possible solution to the table. And then also just a general conversation of what kind of bubbles to the top around transportation and the main issues that we're talking about. So I want to bring back to the board, before we actually talk about it in the meeting, I'm going to send emails with everyone's, feedback, because everyone's getting the same question. And hopefully we can convene some type of student event with our student board member to talk about that as well.
Last but not least, I need a motion to purchase seats for the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Breakfast for those board members who want to attend on January the 20th, 2020 at the Buffalo Niagara Convention Center. This is hosted by New Hope Baptist Church, and we have sponsored them for the past 15 years, a table.
So moved.
So we're going to do a table. Okay. Any objections? I'm not sure. I think they're $40. And if we don't have enough to buy a table, then I would suggest that we just do individual board members. But what do you think? Do you want a table or not?
Yeah.
Do a table.
We've always had a table.
Yeah.
We've always done a table. Yeah, we could bring a student. Okay, so can I just do all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay, thank you. Is there any other business that we need to discuss?
Motion to close.
So moved.
Don't forget, everybody, y'all want to come to the car? I'll be out
We're
there.
going to see Santa Claus.
Are you gonna? So when you get these, I have several of them. I'm not getting.
I'm in the